It always sees my head. Come on. Is it working? All right, so as this is warming up, we finished receptors. Again, I'll post that for you guys if you guys need a refresher on that. Obviously, we have a super quiz over chapter 15. So that's one that's going to hit you guys again, and then I'll add some 16 in there later. 16 is a lot of repetition. 16 is a lot of repetition, but we still have to get through it. Parasympathetic and sympathetic. Does everybody remember that? You should go like this, because you better. All right? What we're talking about now is pathways. So if you're new to the class, you might as well take out a piece of paper and do this, because we're going to be finishing up the last of the nervous system. So this should look familiar for my students. For new people, here you go. And what words go underneath it? So take out a piece of paper, input, output, and you can just start listing them off, right? Sensory, what is it? It's input. Motor, what is it? Efferent. Output. Afferent. Ascending. Input. Descending. Output. There we go. Okay, so that's what this is talking about. First, second, and third order neurons. Now, do we always have to go to the third order? No. Do you have to think about walking? No, you don't. So literally, that can go up to the cerebellum, and we're done. But if we go up to the thalamus, which is a gigantic switchboard, then we're going to go third order, and you're going to think about what's happening. So first order neurons, sensory neurons deliver sensation to the CNS. Okay? Cell body of the first order general sensory neuron is located in the dorsal root ganglia. Wow. So we can put what right here? Dorsal root. We can put dorsal root right here because it is sensory input. Okay? And then we, boom, hit a cranial nerve. This says cranial nerve. Okay? And second order neuron. Axons of the sensory neurons, synapse on the inner neurons. Inner neurons, where are those mainly found? It's right there. The brain and spinal cord. Okay, it's all the CNS, all of it's the CNS. But yeah, didn't we have an inner neuron? We basically come from a receptor, first order, inner neuron, spinal cord, up to an area, and then from there to the cortex. Okay? So that's what this is saying. Maybe located in the spinal cord of the brain, inner neurons. Third order neurons. And this is what I was getting at. Not everything needs to go to the cortex. So if the sensation is to reach our awareness, the second order neuron synapses on the third order neuron in the thalamus. Okay, so if I say spinal thalamic, what is it? It's input. Is it second or third order neuron? It is second. Yeah, it's a second because it stops at the thalamus. Now, it can be a third order neuron because it's going to go to the cortex and you're going to decide whether or not it's worth it. So, walking across the floor, do I have to think about it? No. What if the floor was icy? Yeah, I would have to think about it. So, walking across the floor, straight to the cerebellum. Walking across an icy floor, do I have to be aware of that? Yeah, all the way to the top. So we can have a first and second, or we can have a first, second, and third. Third is going to the cortex. It reaches your awareness. Are you aware of what's going on around you? Okay? So, some of the terms we've already seen, which you guys are going to get tested on. Spinal thalamic, spinal cerebellar. Okay? Now, posterior column is actually not as defined. It's not as defined, and we'll learn a little bit more about that, but carry sensory information from the skin, okay, and muscular parts of the body, head, neck, limbs, transferring this information up to the brain. It's all input at this point. So, posterior, wow. Let's see who's on their game today. Let's see who's on their game. Fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. Ooh, let's burn it in a little bit. Let's burn it. All right. New people, I won't pick on you for a little bit. I'll give you a day to get used to me. I'm a little overwhelming, so it's crazy. Okay, so let's see here. Louisa. That's right. Give it to us. What is gracilis and what is cuneatus?
I think gracilis that goes down to feet.
Feet. Nice. Cuneatus is, there you go. So it's the innervation, it's the area of the feet and your upper limbs. So if you think to yourself, keep forgetting I have this, your feet are in the grass. That makes sense, right? Okay, and this is similar to cutaneous, which touch. That helps out, helps you remember. But it's basically pathways from the hands and feet. And that's the posterior column. But then we come over here, spinal cerebellar. Well, posterior spinal cerebellar, anterior spinal cerebellar. Where are we going to? It's obviously an input, but where are we going? The cerebellum, yeah. And what was the cerebellum? Coarse movement. Did have some, respiratory, heart rate, things like that going on, but mainly coarse movement. Okay? And then spinal thalamic. Wow, we're going to actually end up at the cortex because we're going up to the relay station. But this is giving you an idea, spinal thalamic. We're going from the spinal cord to the thalamus. Okay, so it's another input. It's another way of saying input. Spinal thalamic pathways provide conscious sensation of poorly localized touch, pressure, pain, temperature. Talks about where our first order neuron comes in. Okay. Second order neuron crosses to the opposite side of the spinal cord before ascending. There's our key word, ascending. That means we're going up. Ascending is sensory. Okay. And then within the anterior or lateral spinal thalamic tracts. So, somebody tell me what a collection of neuron processes, neuron axons are called in the PNS. Nerves. Because if they're in the CNS, they're called what? Tracts. You guys remember that? Okay. As opposed to nuclei and ganglia. Right, ooh, the refresher. I know we had a week off. I had almost 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks off. Yeah. How about that refresher? Now, for the people that are coming in after a year, soak it in. Just as much as you can, because wow. All right? So, but hang in there. I'll make sure that you're squared away. But yeah, we're talking about crude touch and pressure. Do you have to know where it crosses over? No. You just have to understand what it is. What is it doing? Okay? Obviously, it's an input, spinal, from the spinal cord to the thalamus, so it is an input. What is it doing? Lateral tracts carry pain and temperature. So somebody tell me what the name of the pain receptor is. Nociceptor. Nice. Excellent. New guy chimes in. He's like, yeah, I got this one. Excellent. Third order neurons. So we are going up to the thalamus. We're going to switchboard all the way to the top. So third order neurons, synapse in the ventral nucleus group of the thalamus. After the sensations have been sorted and processed, they are relayed to the primary sensory cortex. So, oh gosh, Roberta, you've got this one. I know you've got this. What part of the brain, the cortex, what part? You can just say general part. What part is sensory? Do you recall?
No.
Anybody? What part of the brain is all the way to the back? Well, occipital's vision, so that is sensory, but the whole thing would be categorized as posterior. Posterior. Which is funny because isn't dorsal root found in the posterior of the spinal cord? Yeah. Don't worry, we're all just warming up here. This is some craziness. And yeah, starting off this quick, flying. All right, so there you go. And this is going to give you pathways. Now, I'm going to load a bunch of pictures of pathways. I had them on for last quarter. I'll do them again this quarter for you guys so you get to refresh your memory on them. All right. Let me just do this real quick here. I'm going to text someone real quick. I'm kidding. Time. Just checking the time. All right? Because our clock's missing. I want to make sure I don't keep you guys for hours and hours and you start crying because it's horrible. All right, so pathways. You do need to actually understand pathways. I'll load those images again. I think you had them from last quarter. I'll load them again. Okay, feeling of pain, spinal thalamic tract. Make sure that when you hear the word pain, you think nociceptor and where is it? What is the pathway? Nociceptor and pathway. Okay? Referred pain, pain of a heart attack is frequently felt in the left arm. Well, this is because it actually radiates in that area. Okay? So pain of appendicitis is generally felt first in the area around the navel. Wow, all the way up here. Okay? And then actually moves into the lower quadrant. Okay, now we don't actually call it the lower right quadrant. What do we call it? Nice. The iliac region, the right iliac region. Excellent. Bringing those bones back into this. I know you guys are like, oh, we're done with those. No, we're not. Never. We're never done with those bones. So here you go, referred pain. Kind of gives you an idea of where things are. Now, interestingly enough, with women, we have actually more things to contend with. Did you know that most women will actually forego or make it through the pain and just brush it off as time of the month? That they've actually done studies that found that more women have heart attacks that they've just dismissed than men as cramping, time of the month, all this other stuff, stress. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So if you're having pains, don't dismiss it. You know, if your leg's falling off, don't just say, oh, it's a mere flesh wound. Go get help, okay? Take care of yourself. Okay, so this walks you through all the pathways. This is a cheat sheet. It's a cheat sheet for the pathways. This is a total cheat sheet for the pathways. Super easy. Posterior column, well, we already talked about this, gracilis and cuneatus. What are we talking about? Pressure, touch, vibration, proprioception. Ooh, what is proprioception? Mine. Proprioception. Good morning. How we doing? Like, not good. This is a dream. Wake up. Proprioception. Proprioception. Anybody?
It has something through the bladder.
No. Space and time. Space and time. Where are you? Where are you in space and time? Joint position, movement of your arms, body positioning, tension of muscles. Okay, so space and time. That makes sense because isn't it connected to your upper extremities and lower extremities? Right? We don't walk around like this, but here you go. Arms out, bent. I know exactly where I am. You guys know where you are in space and time. Your knees are bent because you're sitting down, right? Your back's bent, your arms are bent. You know where you're at. Okay? So, axon synapse, third order neurons in one of the ventral nuclei of the thalamus. Okay? Nuclei sort the arriving information according to the nature of the stimulus and the region of the body involved. Processing in the thalamus determines whether you perceive a given sensation as touch, pressure, or vibration. So let me tell you what's happening right here. As it's moving up, you're taking in more information. It's being processed. Once it gets to the thalamus, all the information comes together, and you figure out what it is. Okay? So you figure out what it is. Am I at touch? Is there pressure? Is it a spider? You figure out what it is. The ability to determine stimulus, precisely where on the body a specific stimulus originates, depends on the projection of information from the thalamus to the primary sensory cortex. And this is what our lab's about. Okay? When you guys poke each other, you're going to be looking at it going, oh, it's right there. And then you're going to turn your head and they're going to poke you, and you're going to try to actually go to the same spot. And here's what happens. They poke you here, and you go, they're like, no, not even close. Okay? Then we'll do spatial discrimination. They'll have 2 points, and they'll put them together, and you'll say that's 1, 1, and then they'll start separating them until you figure out you actually have 2 points on you. Go ahead.
Isn't that referred pain?
It's not referred pain because it's just touch. So now if we were stabbing you, you might say it's up here. But yeah, no, just because pain and touch are separated out. Extreme pressure and touch, like pinching, that goes into the pain category. But referred pain is actually a little bit different. So where it's coming from is because of pathways. What pathway did it take? Is it similar to another pathway? Okay, so posterior column, sensory information. From the toes arrives one end of the primary sensory cortex. Okay, from the head arrives at the other end. So sensory information comes in, we're moving in up to the brain, and you determine whether or not it's something you actually want to think about. Okay, so this is actually just talking about where it's found on the brain. Where it's found on the brain. I'm not too worried about this. It says a functional map of primary sensory cortex. I'm not going to hold you to this. Okay? And notice up at the top, this is what they're talking about right here. Bless you. Where is it found on the brain? Notice your toes are found right there, buttocks, chest, arms, fingers, nose, lips. All right? So it shows you where it's going up and what part of the brain. All you need to know is that it is post-central gyrus, parietal lobe of the brain, primary somatosensory cortex. What if I say association sensory cortex? What is that all about? Association. Association?
Same hemisphere?
Close, but association.
What is that? Like what connects the two heads?
So let's see if we remember this. Okay? When you were a little kid, your brother or sister used to take a feather and tickle you with it. Okay? Okay? And then later on in life, someone was doing that to you and you laughed about it. What did you think about when you were a kid? You drew in information to make an association of where it is and what it is. Association. Can you put those things together? Now, if it's new to you, can you associate it to something? No, not really. But once you already get it, then you use the association to link things together. Cheat sheet. Okay? So another cheat sheet. You're going to find that they're all the same. The cheat sheets actually just walk you through step by step. Spinal cerebellar, well, we already know where we're going to end up. Okay, if you've forgotten what the cerebellum does, make sure you refresh yourself on that one. But proprioception, information about position of skeletal muscle, tendons, and joints. Do you need to know where you're at, space and time, when you're walking? Yeah, you kind of do. That'd be weird if you didn't, because you would be all over the place. Okay? Tracks, again, we're talking about tracks, a collection of processes in the CNS. They contain second-order neurons. They do not cross over to the opposite side. And where do they end up? The cerebellum. We don't even go to the cortex at this point. Okay? Anterior spinal cerebellar tracts. Okay, second order again. They do cross over. Again, you don't have to know the crossover, but where are they going? What are they doing? Okay, what is the cerebellum? What does it do for us? Okay, they contain a significant number of uncrossed axons, but we're not going to hold you to that. They end up in the cerebellum. They're processing what stimulus? Well, you're not going to know the stimulus unless you know what the cerebellum does. So make sure you refresh your memory on that. So there you go. Some cross over, some do not cross over. We end up in the cerebellum. I've already talked to you about the cerebellum and what it generally does, but look it up again because you could have a question about that. All right? Cheat sheet? Any questions? Any questions on this? it's not even any of this. Who knows? It's craziness. You're here right now, but it's actually, I think the quiz tomorrow is it's pretty fun. I think it does even have like a word bank. Yeah. Just to see how you guys do. It's a fun little quiz, kind of wake you up, get you. The quiz, I think, is more designed around concept. So can you put things together? Okay, at this point in time, you guys are in 242. You should, as students in this class, be able to put 1 and 1 together. And Susan, what does 1 and 1 make? 3. Okay, any other questions? All right, as the quarter begins, you'll find out that I also spend time in trio. I don't know my schedule there yet, but if you have questions or you need help with anything, you can hunt me down in there. Last but not least, before you pack up and run out of here all happy because you're back in class, I am here at 6:15 in the morning. What does that mean for you as students? That you can come in early and get extra help. I had someone show up literally at 6:45 this morning, poke their head in and say, is it too early? Nope. It was awesome. Okay? I am here for you. If you don't like traffic, come early. Okay? If you like sleep, well, then it's on you. All right? If you don't have any other questions, see you guys tomorrow.